All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Urchaha Kodash. The one us to the head apostle, now there's a great millstone who rule well and teach well. This is the brother Mattathiah from the GMS Virginia camp, coming to you through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Yahweh being the true, holy, powerful name of the Heavenly Father. Yahweh Shai being the true, holy, and powerful name of his only begotten Son, whom this world ignorantly calls Jesus and Christ. Bahashem is in the name, and Lord willing, this will be an edifying lesson. And the title of this lesson is going to be Buying a New Car in 2026 is a Scam, / Everything Leads to the MOTB. Now, I got a couple videos that I want to touch on in this video. This first one I want to touch on is why you can't fix your car anymore. And this is concerning these new cars, these new trucks, these new vehicles in 2026. And this has happened progressively over the years. So without further ado, let's go ahead and play a portion of this video.
2026 vehicle, you do not see an engine. You see a wall of plastic. And if you try to remove that plastic, you are met with a financial nightmare and components that are legally sealed shut. We are witnessing the death of the driveway mechanic. But this is not an accident. It is a coordinated war on your wallet. Manufacturers want to turn every car owner into a lifelong tenant. They have sealed the hood. They have locked the software. And now they are charging you $200 an hour just for the privilege of fixing your own property. In this investigation, we are going to expose the manufacturers waging this war and exactly how they made your own truck illegal to repair. We will show you why the hood of your truck is now a crime scene. And most importantly, we will reveal the only two options you have left if you want to avoid becoming a tenant in your own vehicle. Here is exactly how they stole your truck. In the old days, if a window switch broke, you went to a junkyard, paid $5, and plugged in a new one. It was simple copper and plastic. Today, if you plug a new switch into a modern Ford or Chevy, it will not work. The truck put a digital serial number inside the switch. When you install the part, the main computer scans it. If that number does not match the factory list, the computer locks the system. The part is perfectly fine. The mechanics are fine, but the computer refuses to let it work. To unlock it, you have to tow the truck to the dealership. You have to pay them 1 hour of labor just to plug in a laptop and tell the truck that the new switch is allowed to exist. They have digitized the wrench and they kept the password for themselves. This is not about safety.
Yeah, so everything's going to digital, or everything's going digital. All right, from these stores, to currency, all the way down to the vehicle that you drive. And years ago, I remember they had that uh, cash for clunkers, where you could receive cash amount for turning in your old used so-called quote unquote junk vehicle, right? And that was just a scheme by Esau Edom to get you into buying something more new and more modern, right? To get you into a car note, really, you know. And as you've seen them going into how these 2026 vehicles, they have locked the computer. So when you change a part, it doesn't work. You have to take this part down to the dealership and get them to go into the computer with the lock code that they only have. This is not even a code that you can get on by yourself. There's not some type of computer that you can go buy. There's not some system that you can download. All right, not some app that you can get to do it yourself. They have only given this system that is designated only to these car dealerships. Okay. So you're forced to take your car to these car dealerships and pay the amount of money that they're asking to fix simple things. Now let's keep going in this video because it gets a little bit more interesting.
It is about killing the used parts market and forcing you to buy new overpriced components directly from the dealer. Engineering. Weak maintenance has become a geometric impossibility. Take the headlight bulb. On a 1990 Silverado, it took 30 seconds and a screwdriver. On a modern truck, you often have to remove the entire plastic wheel well liner or disassemble the front grille just to reach the bulb. On many German cars, they have deleted the transmission dipstick
A couple car shops, over the years. And, concerning those light bulbs, especially with the BMWs, they have upgraded these light bulbs to where you can't even change them yourself. When you get a new light bulb, a headlight, a turn signal, at least in the front headlight, we had to use a special programming software. We actually had to hook up the BMWs to a computer, and it had to be programmed. You actually had to reprogram or program that new light bulb into the system. So the computer would recognize that a lot of these newer BMW models have active lighting systems where the light bulbs will actually move to the right or to the left or automatically dim, etc. So and we would charge customers like $300-400 to change one light bulb, on a newer model BMW, right?
1990 Silverado, it took 30 seconds and a screwdriver. On a modern truck, you often have to remove the entire plastic wheel well liner or disassemble the front grille just to reach the bulb. On many German cars, they have deleted the transmission dipstick entirely. You cannot check your own fluid level. You have to trust a sensor on the dashboard. When that sensor fails, you do not just buy a sensor, you buy a whole new transmission. But the worst offender is the cab off repair. On modern Ford Super Duty trucks, the engine is packed so tightly into the bay that for many major repairs, the mechanic has to lift the entire cab of the truck off the frame. What used to be a Saturday afternoon job in the driveway is now a $4,000 labor bill. Why? You cannot change a gasket without a $10,000 commercial vehicle lift.
And they're doing this because, it's a marketing tactic strategy by these car companies. Okay, this is how they maximize the profits. From cutting out that middleman, so to speak. Cutting out you, the owner of the vehicle, being able to work on your the cars and trucks that you buy yourself. From doing something small as changing a headlight bulb, changing a window switch, to changing your own oil, right? Some of these newer model cars, you just don't twist off the old filter and uh, you know loosen the drain plug and change the oil yourself. The oil actually has to be mechanically, almost electronically pumped out of the vehicle, right? Like in this video, they said they're doing away with the dipsticks of these cars, and now your oil level is all going down to a sensor, right?
They claim this is for aerodynamics and packaging. That is a lie. At least I can still change my own battery. Think again. On many modern vehicles, including BMW and Ford, the car has a battery management system. If you buy a battery at an auto parts store and install it yourself, the car will not recognize it. The alternator will treat the new battery like the old, dying battery. It will overcharge the battery and destroy your new $200 battery in a month. To fix this, You have to register the battery to the car's computer. How do you do that? You have to go to the dealership and pay them a ransom to click a button. They have turned the simplest maintenance task into a subscription fee. You cannot talk about this without talking about Patient Zero, John Deere. Farmers were the first victims of this war. They spent $500,000 on a tractor, but if a $50 sensor failed in the field, the machine would brick itself. The farmer could physically replace the sensor in 10 minutes with a wrench, but the software would not recognize it until a dealer drove out to the farm to bless it with a laptop.
Yeah, see, this is how these dealers and these car companies essentially make money. All right, they just don't make money off of selling you the vehicle for outrageous prices. All right, they make money from the parts that you can only get from them. They also make money from the system, the computer. All right, you can't just fix the part yourself no more like back in the older days. Right, you have to have someone come out with highly sophisticated technology, and codes that they only have to get into lock systems. So your um, machinery will work, not just the cars and vehicles, but to these tractors and these farm equipment as well, right? Real quick, before I continue on in this video, let's go to Proverbs 29:2. And it reads, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. When the wicked bears rule, the people mourn. Okay. And, Esau Edom has the power to make things way more convenient, ease of access, and user friendly with vehicles and various other technologies that we have today. Okay, but he chooses not to. Right. Let's continue on in this video.
Recognize it until a dealer drove out to the farm to bless it with a laptop. Farmers were left stranded during a harvest, losing thousands of dollars an hour waiting for a dealership to grant them permission to use their own property. The auto industry saw how profitable this was and they copied it immediately. Now your truck goes into limp mode, not because it is broken, but because a sensor reading is slightly out of range and the manufacturer wants you to visit the service center. The goal is not just repair revenue, it is extortion. Manufacturers have realized they do not make enough money selling you the car once. They want to sell it to you every month. BMW tried to charge customers $18 a month to use the heated seats that were already installed in the car.
This is where it gets interesting. Now, these newer model cars, they've set up a subscription to use and have access to certain things that are already installed in your vehicle, which is crazy work, right? For you to be able to use heated seats, to be able to use your key fob, Salakia, be able to use your key fob to unlock your doors, hit your alarm button. Well, now you got to enter into a subscription program with these car companies, $18 a month, $20 a month, $10.99 a month, right? To use certain features in your vehicle, right?
To use the heated seats that were already installed in the car. Toyota tried to charge a subscription for the remote start function on the key fob element. You own the key fob, but they put a digital toll booth between you and your property. This is not manufacturing. This is theft. They are trying to turn the automobile into a service, just like Netflix. And if you stop paying, they can turn
they're
off your features
digitizing
remotely.
everything, right? And you know where all this leads to, right? All roads lead to the MOTV. Soon you're going to need a micro C-hip inside you to even get service to your vehicle, to get your car worked on, to even operate your car, right? They can remotely turn your car off. They can remotely turn certain functions off your vehicle, okay? Recording devices, all different types of high sophisticated technology in your vehicle. And they really want people to buy these newer model cars. They want you to get away from your old 1997, 2000 model vehicle. All right. You're user friendly, where you can pop the hood, you can change the alternator, you can change the battery, you can check the oil, you can change the oil yourself, do it yourself, right? You know, that they're doing away with that. All right. They want you in these modern vehicles. They want you in these electronic vehicles, these Teslas. They want you in these new, they want you to really get into these contracts with these car dealerships, buying these newer model cars, paying six, seven, 12, $1,500 a month, right?
So is the driveway mechanic dead? Not yet, but he is being forced underground. We are seeing a massive rise in the black.
Yeah, you know, people that used to work on cars, you know, they no longer can work on certain vehicles. Depending on the year, make, and model of your vehicle, you can't just call up the backyard mechanic, the guy you know down the street, the guy that used to come out to do certain things. If your vehicle is too new, okay, you are being forced to take your vehicle to the dealership. All right. Now, before I continue on, matter of fact, I want to pull out another scripture. I want to pull out another video real quick and another scripture as well. So bear with me one moment. Next video I want to play is entitled "The Actual Freedom of an Old Car." And before I play matter of fact, I'll probably play the whole video. It's only 5 minutes long. But before I play this video, I want to go to Proverbs, the 23rd chapter and the 4th verse. And it reads, "Labor not to be rich, cease from thine own wisdom." Okay. And you have a lot of individuals that push this prosperity and even the prosperity doctrine amongst the various different, some of these other Hebrew Israelite groups, right? And they, you know, show what they got. They talk about what they got. They brag about what they got, right? That, you know, their gain is they push that gain as godliness, right? I'm in a Hellcat. I'm in some new foreign shit. I'm in this. I'm in that. Look what I got. You know, follow me. It says, "Labor not to be rich. Cease from thine own wisdom. Wilt thou set thine eyes upon that which is not? For riches certainly make themselves wings. They fly away as an eagle toward heaven." Okay, and the true riches is this wisdom, knowledge, and truth, not these cars, these houses, these mansions, right? All these things that are set on a high totem pole in this world that we live in, right? So let's go ahead and jump into this video. It says, "The Actual Freedom of an Old Car." It's a pretty good video.
Car and see a liability, breakdowns, repairs, and endless problems. But what if I told you that an old car is actually one of the greatest financial tools you can own? That it can be the key to independence, freedom, and a life with fewer financial burdens? This isn't about nostalgia. It's about something far more important. It's about control. It's about stepping away from the cycle of debt and consumption that keeps so many people trapped. Because when you strip away all of the marketing and all of the noise, an old car isn't just a way to get around. It's a way to keep more of what you earn, to focus on what truly matters, and to live life on your terms. Let's break this down into 3 ideas to change the way you see car ownership, and maybe even yourself. From the moment we start making money, we're taught that a car payment is just part of life, that financing a car is normal. But what's rarely talked about is how much that actually costs you in the long run. A new car isn't just a one-time expense. It's a liability that constantly your income. Payments, insurance, interest, depreciation, and repairs outside of warranty. These things add up faster than people realize. Let's put it into perspective. The average car payment today is around $600 a month, over $7,000 a year. After 5 years, you've spent $35,000, and the car is worth far less than what you paid. Meanwhile, that same money could have been growing in investments, generating wealth instead of draining it. Robert Kiyosaki, in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, talks about the difference between assets and liabilities. A new car is a liability. It loses value, it takes money out of your pocket, and it never stops costing you. But an old car, that's an opportunity.
Yeah, people that go into these get these car payments, you know, and they get stuck in these contracts, paying outrageous amount of money each month for a vehicle, that eventually, is going to go out of warranty, and you're still going to have to take down to the mechanic shop and get serviced. You're still going to have to pay for repairs, right? Instead of buying something maybe a little bit more older, having some knowledge about the vehicle where you can do basic maintenance to yourself to save you some money in the long run, because it ain't no telling how long you're going to have that decent job, how long you're going to have that certain level of income coming in. Because a lot of people enter into these contracts and get these newer model cars, and they end up not being able to pay for it. And the repo man comes and takes your vehicle, right? And it goes onto your credit, this, that, and so forth. And all they do is take the car and put it back on the lot, all right, the newer model used car dealership. Okay, and they do it once again. When you go and talk to some of these used car dealerships that sell some of these higher end, not super new model cars, but some of these higher end cars, they've resold these cars multiple times. People enter into these contracts with them, and they get these car payments and end up not being able to afford it, and then they go repo the car and they put it back on the lot and they do it all over again. A car that was worth 15, 16, $25,000, they have end up making almost 100 grand off, because they've, just have resold it, or have put it in. These people have came and got into the contract over and over again, and they have end up not missing one payment, missing two payments, not paying for a couple months, and they get these cars back, sometimes in good condition, right?
It's an opportunity to avoid debt, money, and to make choices based on what's best for you, not what keeps the auto industry profitable.
Yeah, and another thing, when these cars go out of warranty and you're in a particular contract, hey, well, guess what? When that transmission goes bad, when a part fails, when you need certain services done, okay, hey, and you can't afford to get that service done to the point where your car's not running, hey, you got a decision to make. Do you either pay to get the car serviced, or do you pay that hefty car note, right?
When you choose to drive an old car, you're not just saving money. You're making a conscious decision to step outside the system that keeps people financially trapped. The modern world convinces us that we need more features, more luxury.
Yeah, see, that's what's pushed in society, that you're considered broke. You're considered not having nothing if you drive an older model vehicle, right? That you got to be in something nice, you got to be in something foreign, you got to be in something with, the pretty shiny paint, all these various things, or you ain't nobody, right? That's what the world pushes. Okay.
Ability often comes from knowing when you have enough. An old car is the perfect example of this. No monthly payments draining your income, lower insurance costs because it's not worth as much, no complicated electronics that require expensive dealer repairs, and the ability to fix things yourself or at a local shop instead of being locked into dealership maintenance.
Yeah, some of these older cars, man, you can do everything yourself. From take the transmission out, take the engine out, in your driveway, right? I've worked on, back in my younger years, I used to change whole motors, take out whole transmissions in a driveway. You can't do that with these newer model cars, right?
Morgan Housel, in The Psychology of Money, talks about how people often chase wealth by accumulating things, when real financial security not needed. Buying an old car teaches you to appreciate what works rather than what's new. It shifts your mind from chasing upgrades to valuing reliability. It makes you rethink what actually matters. And this mindset extends beyond just cars. It changes how you see money, possessions, and even success. When you stop constantly upgrading for the sake of
hey,
it,
if
you
you
realize
got
how much
you got the 2025 model and it's 2026, you consider it an old model. You ain't up to date, right? And people are chasing status, right? They're trying to be perceived as someone who's got it going on. They're trying to be perceived as being rich.
much financial freedom you already have. One of the most overlooked aspects of financial independence is control. When you don't owe money on something, you control it. It does not control you. J.L. Collins, in The Simple Path to Wealth, emphasizes the power of avoiding debt and keeping life simple. An old car fits perfectly into this philosophy. No debt means no financial stress if your income changes. No massive depreciation means that you can sell at any time without taking a huge loss. And no expensive
That's another thing. Once you drive them new models, say a car has 0 miles on it, it's 2026. As soon as you drive it off the lot, I believe it loses, I don't know, I'm about to look it up. There's a percentage of value that it loses as soon as you drive it off the lot. All right, it says a new car typically loses 9% to 11% of its value the moment it was driven off the lot. So as soon as if you were to buy a new car, 2026 vehicle, and you drive it straight off the lot and you go to the stop sign and say, you know what, I don't want this car, and come right back, you automatically lose 11%. Okay, it says this is immediate depreciation occurs because the vehicle is now considered used. So this is immediate. A minute, 2 minutes, you brought the car back. Well, we can't give you your money back. All right. It says with further declines resulting in a total loss of roughly 20% within the first year. All right. So within the first year, whether you put 5, 10, 15 miles on that vehicle, it's automatically depreciated 20%. Okay.
technology or software subscriptions, and yes, I know I've harped on that, just to use basic features. It's pure ownership. No banks, no lenders, no fine print. Just you and your car, ready to take you wherever you need to go, without strings attached. And beyond the financial aspect, there's something deeply freeing about driving a car that you control. No intrusive driver aids second-guessing your every move. No screens constantly pulling your attention away from the road. Just a simple, reliable machine doing exactly what it was meant to do. That's a kind of freedom you don't get in a brand new car filled with distractions and dependencies. At its core, this isn't just about cars. It's about the way we approach life. It's about stepping off the treadmill of constant upgrades, debt, and financial stress. An old car represents something bigger. It represents the choice to live on your own terms.
Yeah, and this is the society that we live in is a debt-based society. And ain't nothing wrong with having a newer model vehicle. Ain't nothing wrong with having nice things, but we know where all these things are eventually, or not eventually, which are leading to, concerning technology, concerning the new model vehicles, concerning the control that Esau Edom is seeking, right? Like the video that I played earlier concerning these newer model, the 2026 vehicles, where the computer is locked, the programs are locked. You can't change anything yourself anymore because the dealership has the manufacturer code that has to be entered into the system, right? Eventually, what do you think that's going to lead to? Okay, when Esau implements his new system, when he persuades the masses to receive a micro CHIP inside of them. All right, these vehicles, these computer systems, high level technology, all right, is all going to work together with that technology that's inside of these people, right? And when that micro CHIP is pushed on a high level, it's going to be pushed under various different means, convenience, ease of access. Now you can get into your vehicle so easy. You can get into your house so easy. Some of these cars are going to be solely off the strength of you having that technology inside of you. You cannot drive this car without having a micro CHIP inside of you. It's simple as that. That's how the car operates. That's how the car works. Okay, off the strength of that technology inside of you. Okay. Let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse Matter of fact, let's start from the top. It says, let as many servants as are under the yoke count their own masters worthy of all honor, that the name of Yahweh and his doctrine be not blasphemed. And they that have believing masters, let them not despise them because they are brethren, but rather do them service because they are faithful and beloved, partakers of the benefit. These things teach and exhort. If any man teach otherwise and consent not to wholesome words, even the words of our Lord Yahweh Shai Mashiach, and to the doctrine which is according to godliness, he is proud, knowing nothing, but dotting about questions, strifes of words, whereof come envy, strife, railings, evil, submersings. Okay, and you have individuals amongst these Hebrew Israelite camps that call us broke, that talk about all the various different things that they got, that they're rich, they got this and they got that, they got Mercedes, they got Hellcats, right? They got all these various different things. So follow us. Okay. It says, verse 5, perverse disputings of men of corrupt minds and destitute of the truth, supposing that gain is godliness. You have individuals amongst these camps that push and promote this type of thing. They promote that the gain is godliness. Surely the Lord is dealing with me because of what I got. Look at my houses, look at my cars, look at my wealth, look at how many wives I have, look what I'm wearing, look how many followers I got, right? It says, supposing that gain is godliness, from such withdraw thyself. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with having nice things, but incorporating that into the truth and bragging about, showing off, speaking about these things, all right, that's going off. It says, verse 6, but godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out. You ain't leaving this earth with your Maybach, with your Benz. You ain't leaving this earth with your Hellcat. You ain't leaving this earth with your newer model vehicle, your mansion, your ice, your chains, your gold, right? It says, for we brought nothing into this world, and it's certain we can carry nothing out. And having food and raiment, let us be therewith content. Yeah, we're supposed to be content with what Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai has given us. Whether it's a 2000 model Honda, whether it's a 2007 Jeep, be content that you got a vehicle. Be content that you got a roof over your head. Be content with what Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai has given you, what he's blessed you with. All right. And we shouldn't envy what another man has. We shouldn't envy this world, because what's pushed in this world and society is you got to be this. You ain't nobody if you don't have this type of thing. If you ain't wearing this, you ain't dressing like this. All right. If you don't have this type of status, you can't get women unless you're on this level. And this is what we consistently see, which is nothing but a scheme and a device set up by Esau Edom. You think these individuals on these podcasts that push this prosperity and financial this, financial that, not that some of their points aren't good, but ultimately a lot of these individuals are just set up by Esau Edom to get you in that type of mindset, all right, to further his system, which ultimately his system is going to lead into a new system of new world order. And at the forefront of that is going to be a MOTB, okay? Where for you to get your car worked on, guess what? You're going to have that technology inside of you, because cash is going to be done away with, right? Like it speaks about in Revelation, the 13th chapter, which we'll get that shortly, okay? And your new mechanic is not going to be a human being. You once went into these shops, you were greeted by an individual, hey, how you doing? Individuals were working on your car, the mechanics, you could talk to them. Well, now when you go into these mechanic shops, guess what? You're going to be in what's the word? You're going to be greeted by a prompt. You're going to be greeted by a robot. And as you look into the shop, it ain't going to be nothing but robots in the shops working on your car, working on your vehicle. Okay. Let's continue on in verse 9. It says, but they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. Like the scripture says, for the love of money is the root of all evil. And those that be rich fall into a temptation and a snare. Okay, they're taken by these lusts. They're taken by, trying to seek status, money, and fame. All right, gathering themselves things. Right, it says, which drown men in destruction and perdition. For the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, you have individuals that covet after money, and they use this ministry as a way to obtain riches. And a lot of our people think these individuals are sincere, and that Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is dealing with them, when it's actually the contrary. They're not sincere. They're in it because of the money. They're in it because of the fame. All right, because they can stack millions in their bank account. So that's what they're all about. And they'll tell you anything that brings that type of income into their, into their life. It says, for the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith. And we have seen that. We have seen individuals that have taken that bag, they've sold out. All right, they've erred from the faith. They have taught you one thing while they were taking your money. Why they told you to hit their Cash App, their Vimo, their PayPal, and then they switched the doctrine up on you all of a sudden, while they're still telling you to hit the Cash App, the PayPal, the Vimo, right? It says they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. Okay, but thou, O man of Yahweh, flee these things and follow after righteousness, godliness, faith, love, patience, and meekness. Okay, so there you go. Now let's go to Revelation, the 13th chapter, because like we like to say, over here, great millstone from the apostles and elders on down, of course, that all roads lead to the MOTB, which is the micro CHIP. All right, contrary to what some of these other camps are teaching, contrary to what your local pastor is teaching, right? This is Revelation 13:16. It says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a charagma, which is a physical thing, in their right hand or on their foreheads. Yeah, to get the new 2027, 2028, 2029 model car, guess what? This is solely based off of micro CHIP, BCI, Neuralink technology. You drive the car with your mind. Okay? That's all this car is. You drive the car with your mind. You think about it. You think right turn, left turn. You think what you want to put in the GPS. It's such a convenience. Now people that can't walk, can't use their feet, can't use their arms, they can now have vehicles, right? And it's ease of access. Now you get into your car without a key. You just swipe your hand across the doorknob. It opens for you. Nobody can ever steal your car again. This car is specifically programmed to you. Okay, the car can drive itself. It can go to places, and now you don't need to park your car. The car can go drive around while you're in the grocery store, and when you need it to pull up, it'll pull up right in front of the grocery store and you hop in. It says, he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a charagma in their right hand and their forehead, and in their foreheads. And Esau is going to do this by many means, because first the fiat currency that we have is going to be done away with, but also, for you to be a member of society, for you to operate in society, and for you to have certain things concerning technology, right? You're going to have that micro CHIP. It says that no man might buy or sell save he that had the charagma, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. So there you have it, man. All roads lead to the MOTB. And we're right there at the doorstep from Esau Edom, sending a high level persuasion all over the earth for individuals to line up and take that device inside of them. Okay. And he's going to use all these influential characters. He's going to use, some of these individuals that call themselves Hebrew Israelites. He's going to use your favorite rapper, your favorite podcaster, your favorite boxer, your favorite NBA player, NFL player, MLB player, right? You know, your favorite sports announcer. They're going to be telling you that you got to have this. This is what you need. They're going to be persuading you to go get it, to line up at these chipping stations, to receive a BCI, to receive a Neuralink, to receive a device under your arm, your hand, you know, in your wrist, whatever the case may be. And there's a judgment for receiving that. Let's go to Revelation 14. You heard General Yohanes say some years ago, do you think God cares if you get a microchip? You know? So they're indirectly persuading you or ultimately leading you down that path to get that micro C-hip, right? Though they might not tell you to go get it as of yet, they're preparing you to, you know, make the decision to take it, and there's nothing wrong with taking it, right? That is not the MOTB. Revelation 13, 16 and down is not talking about that, right? It's talking about sin. It's talking about seeking a white woman, this, that, and so forth, right? This is Revelation 14 and 9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image and receive his charagma in his forehead or in his hand, right? So whether you take a BCI Neuralink, whether you take it, you know, more conventionally in your arm, your hand, somewhere in your body, right? So you can swipe to pay, so you can, you know, use these various different conveniences. So you ultimately, which, you know, you're ultimately complying to Esau Edom and bowing down to him as well, because there's more than what meets the eye concerning this micro C-hip technology, right? This man seeks to completely control you. All right. He wants to control your mind. He wants to control, you know, the things that you use. He wants to control your thoughts. These wicked elites have a God complex and they want to be like the Heavenly Father Yahweh. It says, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Yahweh, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. So that's the judgment for receiving the MOTB. And there's no repenting from receiving the MOTB, right? Once again, I'll leave the link in the description box of these two videos that I went into. I want to give all honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rachaha Kodash, the honors to the head apostle, Netters of Great Millstone, who rule well and teach well. To the next time, Shalom.